Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here as we get ready for our 21st race of the season, the first season of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series. Including today's race, only 6 races remain until we'll be determining the 16 drivers that will battle it out in this season's Duracell Cup Series chase for the championship. Getting ready here today for the run of the AAA Texas 500, 67 laps of racing around this 1.5 mile D-shaped mile-and-a-half speedway. And this is a somewhat different version of Texas than we normally have been at. This is Texas Spring 2017. It's a little bit wider in the turns, so these drivers are definitely going to be able to maybe utilize some 3-wide racing and be able to keep it together. And most importantly of all, this racetrack is a lot faster than it has been in the past. With that being said, this is one of the very few speedways, especially a mile and a half in length, that we're coming to that we are not using the 2019 rules package. So a real shocker there. We are not using the rules package here today, and we're going to have to see if it's going to bring about just as good racing as we had back at Atlanta and Charlotte, tracks that we did use the rules package at that have the same length and somewhat same configuration as Texas Motor Speedway. Carson Gunn will line up on the pole position for today's race. Carson comes into this race 34th in points. Alongside of him, Benjamin Miles 32nd in points. So a couple of drivers trying to fight their way back into the top 30 in the standings, and they could maybe do so here today with a victory. Now, last week we ended up having Trey Wright go to victory lane, pole to win at the debuting track of Lakewood. He comes into this race currently situated in the 38th position in points. He gained 2 spots in the standings last week, jumped from dead last up to 38th. Still a long journey for that 28 car if he's going to make it into the top 30 and have that win at the dirt track count towards a playoff spot. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to be the case here today. Maybe if he gets a second win, it could be possible. Let's go down trackside, get those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
And a very strong, a very emphatic command here to fire up these drivers. All 40 cars will roll off, and as they do that, we are going to show you what your playoff standings look like coming into today's race at Texas, and it will look somewhat similar to you, very similar to what it looked like when we started off the race last week at Lakewood. 16 drivers, all race winners, up inside the top 30 in points, and they all, as consequence, have the 16 playoff positions. James Shelly and Wyatt Quail both managed to stay 29th and 30th in points coming into today's race at Texas, but they're both going to need to continue to have good runs so that way they don't fall outside that top 30 in the points. I believe the calculations for those two, Wyatt Quail is 5 points ahead of the cut line, and James Shelly is a meager 2 points ahead of the cut line coming into today's race. As far as the overall points lead coming into today's race, that's actually pretty close too amongst the top 4. William Brock still the overall points leader, 8 points in hand over Levi McIntire, 10 points over Zach Rogers, and Michael Norman 16 points back. You've got a lot of drivers still up there near the top of the standings that are still looking for their first win of the season that would lock themselves a playoff spot. You've got Levi McIntire 2nd, Michael Norman 4th, and Matthew Rodriguez in 5th. All those drivers trying to get themselves into victory lane, because if they don't, doesn't matter how consistent their regular season has been, if they don't have a win, they're probably not going to make it into the chase for the championship. But here we go, getting ready to go. 2-time Texas stepping as green flag is out. Let's go racing in the Lone Star State. Carson Gunn, big smile on his face when he got the pole for this event, as he's one of a couple Texas natives in this field. Chris Dollerton also out of Texas, as well as Trent Dunham. As the battle is on for the lead, J Jefferson going to try and lead lap number 1. 195 miles per hour as he hits the start-finish line. Jefferson leads the lap. Here comes Mitchell Collins as the caution flag is out for the first time here today. And I don't know if it came out before or after they hit the start-finish line. That's the big question. Looks like it might have been after they hit the start-finish line because they're racing back to the caution. Chris Dollerton now looking for the lead. Looks like he's going to get the run off turn 4, so he will be leading us back to our first yellow of the day. Looks like the incident took place out of turn 4. Made its way down to the front straightaway as Benjamin Miles and Wyatt Quail both went low. Miles looked like he went through the grass. He saved it, though. Nice save by the outside pole sitter, and indeed the yellow flag out. Pace car is going to pick up Texas native Chris Dollerton. Let's see who was involved. Oh, wow, it's Jesse Turner, a driver who had won previously at one of our mile-and-a-half speedways. Matt McIntire's got some damage on the rear, and we got some drivers here on pit road. I don't know if this is regularly scheduled or not. None of these drivers here, from what I can see, have any damage, so this might be regularly scheduled stops for some drivers near the rear end of the field as we got trouble on pit road. Last week's winner, Trey Wright, boxed in by Jesse Turner. And now we got the race leaders coming in a lap later. Well, this is going to shuffle the field up quite a bit. This is going to be really weird. Yeah, there's Chris Dollerton. He was the race leader when we were under caution. But we had drivers from like 30th on back come to pit road a lap before the race leaders did. And I don't know if that was just based off of the timing of that caution or not. That might have thrown a lot of people off. Question is, are these guys here, who right now would be on the tail end of the lead lap, are they going to get to start ahead of the pace car? Or they're going to have to be trapped behind the pace car? That's going to be the big question. Dollerton's going to come off pit road as the race leader, though. Looks like Shelton might come out in second. And I only saw really two cars with damage. Jesse Turner and Matt McIntire, who I assume brought out our caution. Some other drivers have sustained some damage on pit road, but we'll check and see if indeed it was just a two-car incident that brought out the yellow, as I believe Chris Dollerton currently is the leader here under caution at Texas. Here's what brought out the caution. I told you they could go 3 wide. Well, they thought about doing possibly 4 wide. It wasn't quite 4 wide, but they certainly tested the waters. And it looks like the contact may start between last week's winner, Trey Wright, up into Levi McIntire. Sends him up into the other McIntire, that being Matt. As the 7 car spins around, there's just nowhere for Jesse Turner to go. As Matt hits the wall, shoots back down right in front of the U.S. Air Force Mustang. And so a tough break there for Jesse Turner. Turner, last couple of weeks, has been hitting some pretty bad luck. He didn't have a good performance last week at Lakewood. Dropped 2 spots in the standings. He does have that win at Atlanta. That's the one saving grace he's got. But as far as momentum heading towards the playoffs, not really looking that great for that driver in the 47 car. So, as the Lake Effect Automotive Mustang fires back up. Looks like he was able to continue. Looks like he came off of pit road, but he and Matt McIntire, they're the reason for our first caution of the day. Let's go back for the restart. We haven't gotten the 1 to green signal yet, but the timing of that yellow flag, when the caution came out, a number of drivers had not yet crossed the start-finish line, and so I think they believed they had already taken the caution. And I think that's why we saw drivers come to pit road near the rear of the field the lap before the race leaders came in. Now, they were able to obviously still be on the same pit sequence as the race leader and all that. The problem was when they came to pit road, they left pit lane behind the pace car, which means they are trapped behind the pace car, and they're going to be restarting on the tail end of the lead lap. Austin LaPlante, Trent Dunham, Johnny Gardner, Ryan Acosta, Matthew Rodriguez, Dylan Young, and Keith Batson all fall under that category. They will restart on the outside line ahead of the race leader, which is Chris Dollerton. Jessica Shelton, a little bit of an interesting pit strategy there. They gained a lot of spots for that 0-2 car on pit road. She'll restart second. Benjamin Miles, who took that wild ride through the grass but was able to save it, he'll restart third. Charles Sandfer fourth. Jose Millz in fifth. Then J Jefferson, Seth Cole, Wyatt Quail, Mitchell Collins, and Kyle Mathews. That is your top 10. Now, for Wyatt Quail, came in 29th in points. He needs to be run up inside the top 10. That's good news for him. Driver that doesn't have good news right now, that is James Shelly, because Shelly is outside of the top 10, and the driver that was 3 points behind him, 31st in the points, trying to knock him out of the top 30, the driver running 7th, his teammate, Seth Cole. We got drivers that are trapped the lap down, including Levi McIntire, Julius Anderson, Jesse Turner, Matt McIntire, Vince Almariego, Cole Baker, and 2 laps down, Trey Wright, last week's winner. He right now is dead last, and so the quest for him after going coast to coast last week at Lakewood to try and get up in the top 30 in points doesn't look like it's off to a very good start here with only 6 races remaining in the regular season. Nobody out of the race, though, as we get ready for the green flag to come back out on lap 7 of 67. Now Keith Batson on up. All those drivers, they're hoping and praying for another quick yellow, so that way they can cycle around back to the tail end of the field. Jessica Shelton jumping up to the top side. She's going to challenge on that outside line for the race lead. Dollerton might be held up behind Trey right there on the bottom. That might be why that outside line's moving a little bit better. And now as soon as I say that, the inside line kicks in as the top side's tucked behind the 7 of M McIntire. Chris Dollerton goes back to the point. Here comes Benjamin Miles, though, in the 25. J Millz in the 98. Number of drivers have pulled away from the race leader, Chris Dollerton, so right now they are hoping, praying, banking on a caution. You got Matt Rod, Dylan Young, Ryan Acosta, Johnny Gardner, Jesse Turner, Trent Dunham, Austin LaPlante, and Levi McIntire, all hoping they can get themselves a yellow before the race leader reels them back in. I think they got it. I think the caution's out again. Waiting for the confirmation, and indeed it is. The caution flag is out as you just saw Benjamin Miles take the race lead away from Chris Dollerton. We're under caution for the second time here today, and a big break for a number of these drivers, including Almariego, Turner, Young, Matt Rod, Trent Dunham, Ryan Acosta, Johnny Gardner, Austin LaPlante, and Levi McIntire, and they're all coming to pit road again on this lap. I don't understand this. Why are they pitting now? Well, pit road is open, I get that, but they're going to get trapped behind the pace car again. That doesn't make any sense to me. Johnny Gardner, gas and go for the 14 car. Benjamin Miles is coming in as well from the race lead. I don't think anybody's staying out. Everybody's pitting again. A little surprised that just after they all came to pit road, they're all coming to pit road again. Got to be careful here on pit road. We've seen a number of drivers have some incidents and get trapped a lap down because of contact on pit lane. And it looks like maybe, just maybe, the reason for the caution could be the 75 of Benny Watson, our winner from Darlington. So we'll jump back, see if indeed that's the case as we look at our second replay of the day here at Texas. Well, there's no doubt about it. They are racing every lap like it's the last lap. Look at this. They were 4 wide coming off of turn number 2. That's Ryan Brommer on the bottom. Benny Watson up a lane higher. Cole Baker and Keith Batson in that 4 wide situation. Oh, I think they got wadded up 4 wide because they were trying to get around the slower car of Matt McIntire. But there you see right there, Benny Watson tries to turn low, give room to Cole Baker. Ryan Brommer is already to his inside, and Brommer turns Benny Watson down at the inside retaining wall. Fortunately, those roof flaps deployed, so the 75 did not get airborne. And Ryan Brommer spins back up towards the pack. But fortunately, it was far enough back in the field that most of the field had gotten around and were able to avoid when Brommer came back up in turn number 3. Same for Benny Watson. So Benny Watson sustained some pretty significant rear-end damage as well as front-end damage as he nosed it into the wall. Don't know how significant the damage is on the Pepsi Dodge Challenger of Ryan Brommer, but that is what brought out the caution for the second time here today. And boy, you just kind of hope that we start to get into a single-file formation, but with these lap machines, doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So I don't think we've seen our last caution of the day yet here at Texas. Still nobody out of the race, although Cole Baker had a very long extended stay on pit lane. He might still be there as he is trapped 2 laps down along with Trey right now. And we're going to have a very wadded-up, jumbled-looking field again as a number of drivers, as we saw, came to pit road just ahead of the leaders. They get trapped behind the pace car. So Johnny Gardner and Ryan Acosta, they're right now on the tail end of the lead lap, trapped a lap down. You got McIntire, that being Levi McIntire, I should say, Austin LaPlante, Julius Anderson, Trent Dunham, Trey Wright's back there, Matthew Rodriguez, Dylan Young, Vince Almariego, Jesse Turner, Keith Batson, Matt McIntire, Cole Baker's back there as well, I do believe. And I believe did I mention Dylan Young? I don't know if I mentioned Dylan Young or not. So right now, we've got 28 cars scored on the lead lap. Last of those being Ryan Acosta. Everybody somehow is still running as we've worked only our second caution of the day. Benjamin Miles, the race leader now, over Chris Dollerton. Zach Rogers jumped up to 3rd with Jack Mitchell now up in 4th. So new players up here inside the top 10. As in 5th is K Mathews. Carter Friesen's in 6th. 7th now, James Shelly. 8th place is J Jefferson. Dylan Poteet 9th, and Wyatt Quail completes the top 10 as the green flag is back in the air for our second restart of the day. Benjamin Miles and company trapped on that outside line. We'll have to see who of the race leaders is able to migrate their way down to the inside line, which seems to be the shorter and fastest way around the racetrack. Chris Dollerton steps out. He's going to make the move. Nice job getting down to the bottom. He'll follow behind fellow Texas driver Trent Dunham, and he will go back to the race lead. Zach Rogers now moves down to the bottom as Benjamin Miles currently trapped on that outside line. 3 wide ahead of the leaders. Trent Dunham, Julius Anderson, and Johnny Gardner up on the top side. That is a battle for position between those three, just on the tail end of the lead lap. See if they can make that 3 wide work off of turn 4. We've seen a lot of wrecks so far. Caution's out again. Yellow flag is out for the 3rd time today. And Trent Dunham, Austin LaPlante, Levi McIntire managed to make their way back on the lead lap. Now here's the question. Are they going to be coming back down pit road? If they come down pit road, they're basically giving up being back on the lead lap. I'm hoping they stay out. Especially since they came to pit road on back-to-back yellows. Looks like they're staying out. LaPlante's pitting, though. I don't understand this. Why pit again? You just were on pit road moments ago. Oh, D Poteet and K Batson. The reason for this caution is here come the race leaders. Dollerton's going to stay out. I don't know what the fuel window is for these drivers, but I'm really perplexed why they would come to pit road on back-to-back cautions and now on back-to-back-to-back cautions. Couple of drivers going to risk it and stay out. Mitchell Collins and Adam Garcia. So it looks like they'll start 2nd and 3rd behind C Dollerton, who decided to stay out. Oh, wow. Looks like we had some hard hits into turn 1. D Poteet, who was inside the top 10 on that last restart, involved along with the lap car of K Batson. Let's go back and see what happened. Well, we mentioned this version of Texas is much faster. I almost wonder if these drivers don't know what to do with this speed. They get such runs, they're not exactly sure where to go with the momentum. And I think, again, this was another byproduct of everyone being wadded up behind the slower car of Trey Wright as they got 3 wide and then almost 4 wide. D Poteet gets a little tight there off turn 4, up into the left rear quarter panel of K Batson. The both of them are going to go down here into the infield grass after a second bit of contact right there, heading into the first crook of the D-shaped front straightaway. And I have a very sinking feeling, seeing the skid marks we saw over in turn 1, that both these cars are going to come back up the track. We're going to actually go to the 39 because he might actually hit the wall down here. Oh, man. Oh, he brushes it. Fortunately, did not hit it square on, and then right back up into Poteet. And there you see W Quail and J Jefferson absolutely nowhere to go. And look, did you see the speed that all 4 of them carried into that corner? That is a hard lick for all 4 machines. And that is bad news for W Quail, getting swept up into the wreck, not of his making, but he is 29th in points, only 5 points ahead of the 30th in standings cut line. This was not what he needed, as that car is smoking. His day is done. A tough break for Jefferson, for Batson, and D Poteet, 16th in points. He does have that Springfield win, but he doesn't want to be on a slump right now as far as momentum, getting closer and closer to the playoffs. Lights are out atop the pace car. 1 to green signal has been given, and we've just had our 3rd driver go to the garage area. There were 2 before we came back live. W Quail and K Batson. D Poteet has now called it a day as well. So 3 drivers at this point out of the race. Now, I believe that Levi McIntire and... who's the other one? McIntire and Trent Dunham, I believe, both stayed on the lead lap. They both stayed out as well. They were ahead of the leaders when the caution came out, so they're back on the lead lap. A lot of lap cars still down there on the inside line. Some of them 1 lap down, some of them 2 laps down. As C Dollerton, the leader, he stayed out, along with Mitchell Collins and Adam Garcia. A couple of teammates there. Then you got more teammates out of Retro Racing Enterprises, Sandfer and Shelton in 4th and 5th. Matt Haas is up in 6th after that wild ride last week at Lakewood. Nice to see him having a good run in the top 10. Levi McIntire and Trent Dunham got back in the lead lap. They stayed out. They restart 7th and 8th with Zach Rogers and Jack Mitchell, the top 10. Green flag back in the air. We have run less than 20 laps, and we have already worked our 3rd caution of the day. Comes Adam Garcia down to the bottom, trying to see if he can pass his teammate, Mitchell Collins, for 2nd. Cole Baker down there, though, a little bit slow. Might not be able to help Adam get down to the inside of Dollerton here into 3. Looks like Chris might clear Cole Baker as I hit the wrong key. Baker going to hang tough there on that inside line, though. And Baker got a nice run down the front straightaway. He might be able to get himself one of his laps back and at the same time help Adam Garcia go to the point. Here comes Garcia 3 wide, and he will go to the race lead here at Texas. Can we, by some miracle, get a long green flag run in? Well, they're 3 wide, 2 rows deep up here at the front, so I almost think that might be a no. Jessica Shelton now side by side for second with Mitchell Collins. Somehow we're still green. Got about 7 drivers up here in this lead pack that are on the lead lap, including the 99 of Levi McIntire. What a comeback for him. Was trapped the lap down early, raced his way back on the lead lap after the last caution, stayed out, restarted up inside the top 10. Now he's going 3 wide. That's for third. Teammates battle for the lead. Collins and Garcia. Mitchell Collins already has a victory, won back at Kansas a few weeks ago. Adam Garcia still looking for his first win on the year. And Levi McIntire now 3 wide with teammate Chris Dollerton as well as Matt Haas on the top side. That's for third place. Charles Sandfer right there. It's like beating a dead horse, but we keep saying he's the only driver out of Retro Racing Enterprises that hasn't won yet this season, with Shelton winning at Phoenix, Mathews winning at Bristol. And Sandfer up here right now in the 4th position as Garcia going to take the lead back from his teammate. And as this battling's going on, we've got some drivers starting to reel back in this lead group. None of them right now, though, on the lead lap. You got Ryan Acosta, Vince Almariego, Dylan Young, Johnny Gardner. All these drivers are a lap down. This is the battle right here for the 8th position. Zach Rogers taking the spot from Trent Dunham. Kyle Mathews now trying to take 9th. And Jack Mitchell now in line to try and see if he can move Trent Dunham outside of the top 10. Carter Friesen right there in the 12th spot. Benjamin Miles currently in 13th. Seth Coles right now in 14th. Points leader William Brock currently in 15th place. Driver that's suspiciously missing is James Shelly, who was up in the top 10 not long ago. Right now he's back in the 18th position. Oh, and he's got right side damage, so that's why he's somewhat off the pace right now, as he's running the tire tracks of the 17 of Jordan Lopez, or 17th place Jordan Lopez in the 38, I should say. There's our pole sitter, Carson Gum. He's currently in the 16th spot. 3 wide. This is for 13th place, I believe, between William Brock, Seth Cole, and Carter Friesen. William Brock, 2-time winner, trying to fight his way up here to the front, trying to get more victories before the season comes to a close, the regular season that is, to get bonus points in the reconfigured playoff standings. Speaking of the playoffs, NNSCRA making an announcement here during this week of showing what the playoff cars will be looking like, how we'll be able to distinguish them on track from the drivers that did not make it into the chase. The driver banner going to have the lithium blue rather than the white that you can see currently on the current driver banners. They'll also feature that lithium blue on the spoiler, the splitter, and the driver banner. So big announcement there of what's going to be taking place as we get closer and closer to determining our champion. Mitchell Collins, Adam Garcia, though, these two fighting it out right now. Mitchell Collins comes into this race with his victory 22nd in the point standings, so a second win would no doubt probably at this point in the season confirm him a spot in the chase for the championship. Adam Garcia, on the other hand, he comes into this race situated in dead last in points. He wasn't dead last in points until Trey Wright went to victory lane last week at Lakewood, and then he dropped back down to 40th in the standings. So a question of who wants it more. Garcia wants his first win of the season. It's what's been a very dismal year for him. Mitchell Collins, on the other hand, wants a win to lock himself up a spot in the playoffs. And look at this, Ryan Acosta. Now, this is not for position. Ryan Acosta is going to get up here and battle these guys hard, though, because he wants to get ahead of the 12. That would put him back on the tail end of the lead lap. And if he were by some miracle able to get a caution flag, then he would be able to cycle back around to the tail end of the field. Battle on for third between Chris Dollerton and Charles Sandfer. And you know, I guess it took us 3 cautions to get to this point, but thank goodness we are finally now under a long green flag run. But we don't know what the fuel window is. Maybe that's why all these drivers came to pit road every caution. I was kind of bashing, saying, why are you pitting when you just pitted? But then again, maybe these drivers expected they were going to be going into a long green flag run, and they wanted to take the opportunity to pit under caution as often as they could. Tell you who might be the fastest car on the track right now, and that's Zach Rogers in that Dodge Challenger. Now, he won earlier on this season at Pikes Peak. Definitely not the same kind of a track as Texas, but his car very fast right now as he is currently in the 5th position, about to get up here and battle for 4th and 3rd with Charles Sandfer and Chris Dollerton. And if he can make quick work of them, he could very well be up there battling with the Young Motorsports Fords. momentarily for the race lead. We'll jump back up here, see about his progress in a moment, as there's a battle back here. This is for the 5th position, I believe. Nope, 6th place, rather. Jessica Shelton, Levi McIntire, and M Haas. Levi McIntire, the highest driver in the point standings without a win. Second in the points coming to this race, 8 points back from overall points leader William Brock. And this team's been so consistent, an average finish of 15th, 2 top 5s, 7 top 10s in 20 races. They just need to find victory lane. Their teammate Chris Dollerton has already done that back at Fuel Motorsports Park. So they're trying to complete the sweep for the team. Zach Rogers made his way around Sandfer, made his way around Dollerton. He's now hounding Mitchell Collins for second as Adam Garcia leads the way. And we are about to hit the line and complete the halfway point of this race. Well, we already know that it's not a good day for Wyatt Quail in the 41. He is out of this race. He is going to be scored 38th. And he came in 5 points ahead of the cut line, which the cut line driver that he had to worry about was Seth Cole, who right now is running in 14th place. James Shelly currently in 19th. So right now, his chances of looking pretty good, of staying in the top 30 in points. A couple of drivers he would have to worry about that might knock him out would be Benjamin Miles and Cole Baker. Well, Cole Baker is trapped 2 laps down right now. Benjamin Miles is in 13th. He is 6 positions ahead of Shelly. And he came into this race 10 points behind Shelly. So right now, if Shelly can keep Benjamin Miles within 10 positions, then Shelly will probably stay in the top 30 in the point standings. But right now, it looks like Wyatt Quail could very well fall out. And if that's the case, then that would move a driver, if we don't have another different race winner here today, that would move a driver highest in the point standings without a win back into that 16th slot, which right now, based on where he's running and where he is in points, I would think would be the 99 of Levi McIntire. So right now, he wouldn't mind seeing the 22 go to victory lane or the 6 go to victory lane if it weren't him that was going to win this race, because both of them already have wins this season. Dollerton could win, and that wouldn't affect Levi McIntire, but the driver that's passing him right now, Charles Sandfer, if he were able to get up there and win this race, then that would move Sandfer into the playoffs, and Levi McIntire would not currently be in that 16th seed heading into next week's race. Which next week, we talk about a track that's going to be a wild card. Next week, we're going to Martinsville. For the first time in a long time, Martinsville comes back on a schedule. As we've got a battle for the lead here around the slower now lap machine of M McIntire. And Ryan Acosta using the 7 as a pick as he's trying to get back up there on the tail end of the lead lap. Garcia gets the lead, though, after all of that. Rogers in second. Collins drifts back to third. But Martinsville is our next race, and that is going to be, I hope not a wreck fest, but then again, you never know. Bristol was on our schedule for the first time in a long time, and that turned out to be a wreck fest. New Hampshire, on the other hand, turned out to be a really good race, and that made its return to the schedule after a long hiatus. So we'll have to see what side of the spectrum Martinsville, Virginia is going to be on, as we got our green flag pit stop starting. The teammates on pit road. Now remember, those two stayed out along with Dollerton, and Shelton's going through the grass. And she's coming to pit road. That might, I don't know if that's going to be a penalty or not. She completely missed the commitment line. Trent Dunham's in along with Carter Friesen, Levi McIntire. These are all drivers who stayed out under the last caution. Chris Dollerton as well. So that turns the race lead over to the 6 of Zach Rogers. And I would say that probably these drivers are going to have to pit probably within the next 5 to 7 laps. These drivers that were able to stay out and make it a little bit further. Matter of fact, well, I thought maybe they were slowing down for a caution, but no, we are still green. Starting to see the speeds start to decrease a little bit through the corner as the tires wear down. Catching up now in the slower car of J Jefferson is Zach Rogers. Rogers now the leader. William Brock now moved up to second place. Kyle Mathews into third. Fourth place right now is Jack Mitchell, as that's actually a battle between himself and outside pole sitter Benjamin Miles. Jesse Turner returning back to the track. And Ryan Acosta not giving up. He wants to get himself back on the tail end of the lead lap, and in order to do that, he has to pass the 6 car. Got close to the left rear quarter panel, gets a nice run there through the center of 1 and 2. Can't quite keep it down on the bottom there off the corner though. So we're nearing the point when Zach Rogers and the rest of those drivers, they're going to have to pit. And looking at the calculations, the question is, did the fuel window open up for all those drivers to be able to make it the rest of the way, or was that as far as they could go? Because if that was as far as they could go, we went back green on what, lap 18, I think? They all came to pit road around lap 36, 37. Boy, that's going to make them really close on fuel in the closing stages. If that's as far as they could go, they're going to be anywhere from 2 to 3 laps short. Talking about those drivers that came to pit road first in that first group. As you see now, the second group's going to pit. Zach Rogers going to give up the race lead, and Kyle Mathews going to stay out and get himself a bonus point for leading a lap. Jack Mitchell stayed out as well. I believe those are the last 2 drivers on the lead lap that are yet to come to pit lane, and that is indeed the case. So Kyle Mathews rolling the dice here, trying to get his second win of the season, and we'll see if maybe this strategy is going to work out for him as he now hits pit road, and Jack Mitchell will come to pit lane as well. Looks like Jessica Shelton did indeed have to serve a penalty for missing the commitment line. She is currently 31st. I think they probably held her on pit road. This could be the battle for the race lead between a couple of teammates, Levi McIntire and Chris Dollerton. Of course, we have to wait and see where the 6 of Zach Rogers cycles around, as well as the 09 of Kyle Mathews, because they were off sequence with these drivers. There's your answer. Rogers coming off pit road. McIntire and Dollerton get around him. So right now, those 2 Ford Mustangs, I believe, would be in first and second, depending on where Kyle Mathews cycles around. There he is, coming off pit road. And McIntire and Dollerton have a lot of momentum. I believe they just passed him. So I believe the race lead's going to cycle around back to the Chipotle Dr. Pepper Ford Mustang of Chris Dollerton. We've already this season seen a driver go to victory lane at their home track. A couple of weeks ago at New Hampshire, it was Austin LaPlante winning in front of his home crowd. Chris Dollerton would love to do the same here 2 weeks later at the Texas Motor Speedway. But the thing I would be a little bit concerned about is, remember, he came to pit road with that first group, the drivers that did not come to pit road under our last caution. And so the question is, with about 20 laps remaining, does he have enough fuel to make it the rest of the way? Levi McIntire right there behind him. Now, Chris Dollerton coming into this race has a victory, and he is currently situated 11th in the point standing. So he is in really good shape to make it into the playoffs, and this is his home track. However, his teammate behind him, still looking for his first win of the season. If he won, it would probably ensure that both drivers out of Rock and Ranch Racing, that they would both be in the playoffs. So would Chris Dollerton be willing to put aside his personal wants here at his home track to allow his teammate to go to victory lane and get both of their Mustangs into the chase for the championship? Somehow I think the answer is no. I think if McIntyre is going to win it, he's going to have to earn it. And I don't think Dollerton's going to roll over and allow McIntyre to take this victory. Mitchell Collins right there in third, so the Mustangs, again, very strong on the 1.5 mile tracks. Collins in third, and Garcia is in fourth. Well, he was in fourth. He just lost that spot to Zach Rogers. So Rogers in that Dodge Challenger charging back up through the field again. And I believe out of the drivers up here at the front, Zach Rogers has the freshest tires. Diego Yepez, unscheduled stop for the Citgo Chevrolet. Battle now going on for the 5th position. Garcia has it. William Brock wants it. Gets trapped behind Diego Yepez, though. And Garcia might swing around the outside and hang on to that top 5 position. Then again, maybe not. Diego Yepez, a little bit fresher tires, gets the inside line pass and opens up the door for William Brock once again. Remember that our top 3 in the point standings are up inside this top 5 now as well. William Brock came in the points leader. Levi McIntire, who's second, he is second in points, and Zach Rogers, who's fourth, is third in the points. So we got a pretty good battle for the race lead amongst the top 3 in the point standings. Meanwhile, up towards the front there, Jessica Shelton. Currently was last time by scored in 31st. She's actually now 19th. I believe she's on the tail end of the lead lap. Yes, she is. Michael Norman, last car on the lead lap in 20th. Now this is a battle for position between these two going on right in front of the race leader, Chris Dollerton. Let's actually give you a rundown of the drivers on the lead lap back through 20th. Dollerton's your race leader. Levi McIntire currently in second. Mitchell Collins is third. Fourth place is Zach Rogers. Fifth place is William Brock. Sixth, Adam Garcia. Seventh place right now is Kyle Mathews. He just made the pass on Carter Friesen, dropping Friesen back to 8th. Ninth is Matt Haas, and completing your top 10 is Charles Sandfer. In 11th is Trent Dunham. 12th place is Jack Mitchell. Benjamin Miles runs 13th. 14th is Seth Cole. 15th place is Ryan Brommer. 16th, Jordan Lopez. 17th is pole sitter Carson Gum. 18th place is Ryan Butcher, who does appear to have some pretty good extensive damage on his Gatorade Chevrolet. 19th place we already showed you was Jessica Shelton, and 20th is Michael Norman. This is actually a battle for position inside the top 22. Ryan Acosta just got his way back on the tail end of the lead lap, bypassing Chris Dollerton. He's about to pass Michael Norman for 20th, and Jessica Shelton for 19th. So Ryan Acosta now moves into the top 20. Diego Yepez making a pass on Chris Dollerton. Yepez fresher tires, and that might open up the opportunity for Levi McIntire to close in on his teammate for the race lead. Meanwhile, Mitchell Collins is closing in on the both of them. Zach Rogers in the wake of Johnny Gardner, 1 lap down in 22nd, trying to use the 14 to get his way up here to the top trio. They're about to catch Matt McIntire, who is slowing off the pace. Let's see if Levi McIntire can use the 7 as a pick. Dollerton trapped on the outside line, and that's where the 7 is. Levi McIntire goes to the lead. Mitchell Collins now challenging Dollerton for second as McIntire goes to the point. 10 laps to go this time around. And the question of can these drivers make it on fuel? Zach Rogers closing in. He's got a fast race car. He might have something to say about this victory before all is said and done. And now the question, can Chris Dollerton fight his way from third back up to the front? Mitchell Collins now to the bottom on Levi McIntire for the race lead here at Texas. I believe it was 3 weeks ago. He went to victory lane at Kansas, got his first win of the season, passing J Jefferson in turn 4 on the final lap. Sweet redemption for finishing runner-up to Carter Friesen in the Great American Race. Now he's trying to get his second win in what would be the last 4 weeks. McIntire trying to get by Shelton, trying to put her a lap down. Traffic playing havoc here with the race leaders with less than 10 to go. I want to see if we got any other slower cars ahead. Got Trey Wright going into turn 3 as the leaders are halfway down the back straightaway, and we know on the last couple of restarts he's been a little bit of a menace, so he could be an issue as well. It'll all depend on where these leaders encounter him. As Johnny Gardner making a pass on Mitchell Collins, that opens up the door for Zach Rogers to go for second. And now Zach Rogers might be the one to challenge Levi McIntire for this race lead. Gardner trying to get back on the tail end of the lead lap. If he goes to the inside of Levi McIntire, that's going to open up the door for the 6. McIntyre's been pretty good on that outside line, though, last couple of laps. Been able to hold drivers off, but he won't hold off Gardner. Johnny Gardner to the inside. Watch for Zach Rogers to try and fill the hole on the bottom here into turns 1 and 2. And he carried a lot of speed into that corner, did Rogers. Slipped up the track just the least little bit. Gardner's going to clear McIntire, so he's now back on the lead lap. And now Zach Rogers all over the back bumper of the Captain Marvel Chevrolet, or Captain America, not Captain Marvel, Captain America Ford Mustang. Levi McIntire's got to lay down 6 really good laps, and now Zach Rogers is to his inside, so that may be all she wrote. Can Rogers make the pass here off of turn 2, though? McIntire's going to get the run on the outside line. And as these drivers battle side by side, that's going to bring Mitchell Collins and Chris Dollerton back into the picture. Rogers is going to clear. McIntire's got to get back down in front of him, not lose momentum off the corner. He's got to focus to get back to the 6 and not allow Mitchell Collins to divert his attention into a battle for second. There's the 28 of Trey Wright. They've now caught him. Looks like he's going to be up on that outside line, so he's not going to hinder Zach Rogers that much. As now Zach Rogers continues to follow in the tire tracks of Johnny Gardner. Let's give credit where credit's due. Johnny Gardner, in essence, really helped Zach Rogers get to the race lead. Levi McIntire now going to go to the inside of last week's winner, Trey Wright. He's got 4 laps to go to try and run down and pass Zach Rogers for the win. Mitchell Collins right there as well. Rogers now making it 3 wide on the bottom there with Johnny Gardner and Jessica Shelton trying to put those 2 a lap down. That inside line, he's going to be really tight, so he may not get quite the exit off the corner that he wants. That might allow Levi McIntire, who's in the middle groove, to be able to close up the distance. 3 laps to go here at Texas. Rogers clears Shelton. Now McIntire has to deal with the 0-2. And Rogers will clear Johnny Gardner as well. So fast traffic for Levi McIntire to have to deal with now as Rogers begins to start to run away with this thing. Now if Johnny Gardner makes a move to the inside of Zach Rogers, though, that could open up the door for Levi McIntire, and Gardner is to the left rear of the 6. That is not what Zach Rogers needed. 2 laps to go. Will that inside line be open if Levi McIntire can get to Zach Rogers' back bumper? Shelton trying to fill the hole down low. McIntire right there, waiting in the wings. Does he have enough car to get up there? He's got to make sure he doesn't allow that gap to close up. Has Gardner on the bottom. He's going to get back on the tail in the lead lap. Shelton does the same. White flag displayed this time by McIntire's really not close enough. You got to run that time, but he's got to drive it in deep here into turn 1. Rogers still on the top side. Here comes McIntire on the bottom. Can he get to the left rear quarter panel off turn 2? Oh, he's not quite there. Will he make the move down here in 3 and 4? Rogers pins it to the bottom. McIntire tries to get the run off turn 4, but he's not going to get enough momentum. Zach Rogers wins the AAA 500 here at Texas Motor Speedway. His 2nd victory of the season. That is a confirmed playoff spot for the driver out of Bulldog Motorsports. And he becomes the 4th driver to be a multi-time winner here this season in the Duracell Cup Series. He very well might have taken over the overall point standings lead as well. I'm not certain. William Brock finished in 6th. So that was 6 points he gained. He was 10 points back, and he also gets 5 bonus points for winning. So I think Zach Rogers is going to have the overall points lead heading into next week. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be close again between him, McIntire, and Brock for the overall points lead heading into Martinsville. But Levi McIntire so close yet again. The consistent finishes, but he just can't close the deal and get that victory. He'll end up 2nd place. Mitchell Collins will finish the day out in 3rd. A solid outing for him. That team's actually been really good since he got that Kansas win. Chris Dollerton's going to finish in 4th. Almost got it done here at his home track, but a great run for both of the Rockin' Ranch Racing Ford Mustangs, both in the top 5. Kyle Mathews, the consistent finishes for him starting to happen. He'll get a top 5. William Brock brings it home in 6th. Adam Garcia will finish in 7th. Carter Friesen 8th. 9th for Matt Haas. And Charles Sandfer is going to complete the top 10. Rest of your top 20, you got Jack Mitchell, Benjamin Miles, Trent Dunham, Seth Cole, and Carson Gum. Seth Cole finishing in 14th, so I believe that's going to knock Wyatt Quail out of the top 30 in points. And James Shelly finished 24th, Benjamin Miles in 12th. That is 12 positions difference. And Miles was 10 points behind Shelly, so that might have knocked Shelly out of the top 10 in points. Or not top 10, the top 30 in points. So McIntire, he didn't get the victory, but he might be in the playoff grid heading next week. We'll have to wait and see. We went down through 14th place. Carson Gum's going to finish in 15th. Good run for the pole sitter. Jordan Lopez, Ryan Brommer, Ryan Butcher, Michael Norman, and Ryan Acosta were your top 20. And Johnny Gardner and Jessica Shelton both managed to finish on the tail end of the lead lap in 21st and 22nd. As you look on down through the remainder of the finishing results, a couple of our former winners finishing down off the lead lap. Austin LaPlante, New Hampshire winner, 28th. Jesse Turner, our Atlanta winner, finished back in 33rd. Benny Watson, our Darlington winner, in 34th. And Trey Wright, what a heartbreak for him. 1 week after going coast to coast at Lakewood, we were thinking maybe, just maybe, that team could get consistent enough finishes to make their way up in the top 30 in points. This is not the start that they needed on that quest. 36th, 3 laps down. Also 3 laps down was M McIntire, and 3 drivers out of the race after 3 cautions here today. Wyatt Quail, that could be him outside the top 30 in points now. Dylan Poteet, our Springfield winner, 39th, and Keith Batson finishing in the 40th position. That's going to do it here today, though, from Texas Motor Speedway. It took us 3 early cautions to get into a long green flag run, and a great battle there at the end between Zach Rogers and Levi McIntire for the victory, but Rogers came out on top, gets his 2nd win of the season. Hope you guys enjoyed today's race from Texas. If you did, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, become part of the crew today. We have shown you full finishing results, and these are your point standings heading into next week's race at the Paperclip Martinsville Speedway. That is going to be a crazy race. I think it's really going to all come down to track position, but then again, maybe, just maybe, by some miracle, and I know that I am probably wishing on a star that already exploded and turned into a black hole, but we might get into a long green flag run and see a Martinsville race turn into a pit strategy race, but yeah, I'm hoping for things that aren't going to exist. Thank you all, though, and I will see you guys next time as you've been watching Production News 8 Offline Racing at its best.